We just had a nice little morning spring rain come through. I was out here working and the weather changed real quick, and so put a bunch of stuff back in the hoop house. But I wanted to give you guys an update. Everything's been going so quickly and crazy. Show you guys what we've done so far, what I'm way behind on, what I'm having issues with. So we have this little berm here. I still need to do cleanup on it from the stalks from last year. This is kind of the wildflower patch. So I did throw in some more wildflower seeds in the fall as well as in the spring. You can see the beautiful little forget-me-nots. I love those. There's black-eyed Susans or Rebecca. You can see a bunch up here. I'm not sure what this is. Does anybody know what this is here? Goldenrod's up over there, so I'm not really sure what that is. So I do need to come back in and cover this part with some more compost, and then I'll seed this area as well, most likely with a bunch of cosmos. I'm trying to decide where I'm putting cosmos from seed, so that might be a spot. But I may also put some of the delphiniums that I'm getting in from plugs, which I'm really excited, as well as I do have some delphiniums I started from seed. Yeah, so kind of messy still. I still have this whole berm to clean up here to plant. This is about 17 feet, I think, is what I get asked this all the time. There's 4 cattle panel tunnel set up for the tunnel within the beds. These are 2 of the 8-in-1 beds kind of put together and made into the long and narrow version of the bed. The peas are coming up really well, although I am having trouble with on the other end of things getting eaten. So we'll see what happens there. I have onions around the border, just like last year. And then I actually put zinnias. These zinnias had some trouble getting started, but you can see the new growth is actually okay. So they should be fine. I burnt them pretty bad when I brought them out to the hoop house. You can see the peas that are no more. So, and then over on this side, the ranunculus here, we had the 2 90-degree days, like 4 days or 5 days after I planted them. We were supposed to only have a high of like 82. I was going to cover them, but 90s is like impossible. So those are probably gone, but I did put some marigolds in here. Kind of sprinkled in some status as well here. Pollinators absolutely love status. I've got the peas in the back there, onions obviously, and then these are more beets for beet greens, and these peas are the sweet peas for flowers, for cuts. In this 6-in-1 Birdies bed, we have potatoes. These are a pretty large gold potato. They're really good, and I apologize because I can't remember the name. It might be Lehigh, but I could have gotten that wrong. In the back there, you'll see one of the Birdies beds extra corners. So when we built these beds, right, we didn't have to use all 8 corners for the 2 different beds. So we have an extra 4-corner setup from that. This is these rest of these 6 beds are all 8-in-1 tall Birdies beds. We've got our radishes, and there's a white one. These are kind of a cover cropish thing where I had space. So there's another white one. I had a space where this is going to be sweet potatoes, but the sweet potato slips from Johnny's won't even be here until the end of May. And the beds were prepped and ready to go. And so I thought, why not grow a little bit of extra food while I can and have the extra space. Over here behind me, this is another bed where I said, I'm not going to need it for a little while. So this is a 21-day spinach, I think. You can see here, I'll only get probably 1 cut of it before I'm done with it. But the good thing is that I get a little extra spinach space besides the stuff we have in the hoop house. And this will be the large bell pepper bed with ace bells and California wonders. There'll be 32 bell peppers in this bed. Back up here, this is our lettuce and broccoli bed right now. So these are broccoli rabe, and then I've got some lettuce there. I've got more lettuce coming up over here. I had some old pellet lettuce seed and I wasn't sure how they do in these sections for the iceberg, and the butter, and it looks like I got a little bit of up, but I probably need to put some more in. And then romaine's up here in the front. This is one of our favorites. I think it's a Paris Island romaine, very common type. It's really good, actually. It's a baby leaf. This bed is going to be mostly picnic peppers. Those are like the little lunchbox peppers or snack peppers. They're red, orange, and yellow. And we really love those. So this bed will mostly be that, and then onions around the border. Over here I have only 2 broccolis that made it. These are the Melody from Johnny's Select Seeds, here and here. And these are again, a small, like a short days to maturity, a DTM broccoli, miniature broccoli type thing. And yeah, we'll see. I've never tried this variety, so I'm very interested. You'll see some flowers in the back here, snaps, some feverfew, it looks like, status, cosmos, maybe, a little bit of mixture here in the center there. And I may put some more flowers back here, I'm not sure yet. And then a bunch of onions. These are onion starts from Johnny Select Seeds because I did not start enough onions. So I got those going. I have a ton more to plant. This 8-in-1 bed has carrots here. These are pelleted carrot seeds. You can see the spacing actually isn't bad. So I will not thin these, which I really liked. And they actually grew really well when I used them before. So this is an early days carrot seed from Johnny's. And then the back side of this bed, I think I'm gonna do the guajillos and the Thai chilies and maybe the a jalapeno or something like that in the back here. That should fit quite a few peppers. I think maybe, I keep going back and forth, but it should fit quite a few. What I didn't mention on this bed was that this will be mostly poblanos, and I'm going back and forth between putting poblanos and guajillos in the same bed again like I did last year, or if this becomes poblanos and something else, most likely a pepper of some sort. Over here in these back ones, this is these 2 are 9-in-1s. They're, let's see, Birdies beds that were imported by Epic and sold to Gardener Supply. And these were the first 2 beds we bought in order to kind of test the quality of them before we bought a whole bunch. So these have, I don't know what I dropped in here because obviously I did not plant very well. So some type of maybe more radish, be my guess. But yeah, not really sure what happened on this bed. It looks rather funky. But this bed will become the cayenne bed. The last few years we've done 15 cayennes in the 8-in-1, I think. And last year we had something like 14 pounds of cayenne peppers, and our freezer is still kind of full of those. So we're gonna do a little bit less because we love the fresh cayennes and we put the cayennes in our salsas. So this bed will have not nearly as many as previously. This is another potato bed. These are, I believe, I'm bound to say they were the Adirondack Blues, but now I can't remember. I'll have to look back at what I planted. These were storage potatoes we had in the basement that had gone to seed, or chitting, I guess you could say. They were very leggy when I planted them. These whiskey barrels, I haven't really planted this first one yet. I was thinking delphiniums there. I've got some delphiniums in here already with some status. And over here, this is a full cut flower bed. It's a short 8-in-1 Birdies bed, and I have a mixture of everything in here, doing about a 4 to 6 inch spacing on most things, and it's gonna get crowded, and there's hopefully that makes the stems get long is the goal. A lot of cut flower farmers will have a much closer spacing than what it says on the seed packets or what you might be used to seeing, where it says, oh, 9 inches, oh, 20 inches, right? And that helps them get the longer stems, but you do have to feed your plants when you do this close together, especially in a raised bed. So with that, there are giant marigolds, there's campanula, there's snapdragons, there's some alyssum that went to seed from last year. There are more snapdragons, cosmos you can see here. I believe this little dude is the orange butterfly weed. It's beautiful. Then I've got stock, it looks like, and status, and something else, maybe a little bit of feverfew. I'm sure I'm missing something, but this bed should be full and happy, and I just transplanted it, so you can see they're still getting adjusted. You can see the cosmos and the stalk look like they're taking off, as well as the snaps. It'll be interesting to see how everything else does. Over here, I've got a border of onions, as you guys are not going to be surprised to see here. And this bed will probably be cut flowers also. Originally, this was going to be squash, but I ended up planting the squash over in the field garden instead this year on irrigation, thinking that that might help production. Up here, you can see we have a new birdhouse. So we put the birdhouse, cleaned it out and put it back up over there. Our house wrens have been here every day, going in and out of there, so I'm excited for that. Tomatoes, so as many of you following along have seen, we definitely had some issues with some of the indoor plants. We had bad case of soil or bad bag or two of soil that I transplanted into. We had a lot of stunted growth. Then they got really leggy. I think we had probably a light issue. And then I didn't pot them up fast enough. So it was not my year for starting seeds down in the basement. But that's all to say, it's not the end of the world that these are leggy. A lot of people will freak out about leggy plants. In the grand scheme of things, I planted them deep or slightly sideways with Jay, and really it's not going to hurt anything. They're in the ground now. Our average last frost was May 7th. I believe we had 35 degrees day since then, or a morning, but it was a split second morning, and I was out here and watering to make sure nothing got frozen. I do need to come back in here and prune off a lot more of the old indoor growth, and that's what you're gonna see here is these leaves here. It's fine, it's not the end of the world. We should be able to prune those right off now that you can see this beautiful new growth coming in. So as that happens, we should be all set. There are 46 tomatoes in this bed this year instead of 50. Also lines up with how many of the lower and lean spools we had. So we need to come in and clip them, but they're actually being pretty strong and sturdy, which I'm happy to see. Along the very center of this bed are zinnias. So I kept going back and forth. Do I put onions in the middle or not? They didn't get enough sun. Zinnias should be tall enough that we should be fine on getting plenty of sun. That's what I did actually the first year. If you look back in these short beds here, when I did tomatoes around the outsides, I did zinnias in the middle, and it was actually beautiful. They may not be the best cut flowers, but they'll be very good for pollinators, and they'll look beautiful, and I'm sure I'll get some cuts out of them. On the ends, I did put some status and some of the giant marigolds. I need to come in here. I'm hardening off the celery right now, and I'll put some celery along the drip tape. There are 3 rows of drip in this. And I will need to finish planting. I started some of the alyssum around the edges. The alyssum is great because it kind of does a nice little cover underneath the tomatoes and attracts a hoverfly, which then keeps the moth away from laying their eggs at the root of your tomatoes, which then keeps the tomato hornworms down, as well as the wrens. I'm pretty sure, I haven't looked it up, but we didn't have nearly as much caterpillar issues as we had previously. And I saw the wrens in all my beds hanging out underneath my peppers, because the way I prune them, they could go in underneath. And it definitely seemed to help. So this, again, tomatoes look a little funky right now, but in another 2 weeks, they should be absolutely fine. Over on the edge of the hoop house, we have snapdragons that I had under the shade cloth in the hoop house. So they're nice, long and leggy for long stems and early, hopefully. I've got poppies, I've got larkspur, something else, I'm not really sure what that is, and peas. This short 8-in-1 bed is all onions. So these are all Patterson onions from Johnny Select Seeds. You can see they look kind of funky to start, but they're starting to get new growth. That's expected, and that's fine. You'll also see a ton of alyssum that's starting to come up in between the onions, and that will be a fine cover there. Now this 8-in-1 bed has a couple giant marigolds on the edges and the corners here, some onions around the edges, and this is a little bit of a TBD bed. I'm sure I'm going to need more space for something, and so I've left this as not designated yet. So that's the Birdies beds layout and garden plan at this point in the season. I'm sure it'll change a few more times before we get too far into to planting.